So I'm hanging out with Gran last night. We're doing our normal Saturday routine. You know what it is, between 7 and 9 p.m, fish and chips at Gran's house minus the fish. So just chips on bread. Gran finds the fish a bit ropey. So I was saying to Gran, do you remember when we used to go to Cold Rock Cafe? You get the coupons from the mail and you take us down because it was 2-for-1 ice creams. Obviously, bubblegum flavored ice cream, add nerds. The coupon was only good for one mix-in. Do you remember that, Gran? And Gran said, yeah, Tom, that's actually one of my favorite memories from your adolescence. And I said, Gran, adolescence? That reminds me, have you seen that new show on Netflix called Adolescence? Gran says, Tom, have you seen Adolescence? And I said, Gran, Adolescence is a new Netflix miniseries starring Stephen Graham. It's 4 episodes long and each episode is one continuous shot. It's a commentary on incel culture and male rage. Yeah, I think I've seen it. So I says to Gran, these are my thoughts. Episode 1, great. Episode 2, bad. Episode 3, great. Episode 4, necessary/good. That's my new rating system, I think. For all shows, you are either episode 4 of Adolescence, episode 3 of Adolescence, episode 2 of Adolescence, episode 1 of Adolescence. So if you've been around for a long time, you might say that Mickey 17 was in episode 2 of Adolescence, which would be, Gran, what would it be? Yes, that's right, bad. I think Stephen Graham is one of the busiest, best British actors around. I think that he's in a lot of stuff, but this is the standout stuff, right? I remember the first thing I saw him in was This Is England, which is like a British romper stomper, skinheads, racism, Doc Martens. He was incredible in that, incredibly convincing. He's like a, Ed Norton tier racist there, which is hard to pull off. He's in Boiling Point, obviously, incredible. Boiling Point, he's a chef running a kitchen and it employs the same one-take technique. I think Stephen Graham's like a British Joel Edgerton. It's been said that Joel has the face of a bricklayer and the heart of a poet. And I think you could say the same for Stephen Graham. He looks like such an average Joe. He looks like such a dad at the football or a guy down at the shops that he can play roles like this that allows him to play the regular dad whose kid happens to be caught up in this crazy thing that happened. Can you imagine if Brad Pitt was playing the Stephen Graham role in this? It wouldn't make any sense. Him playing a chef in Boiling Point, it's completely believable. He looks like a strung out head chef. Of course he does. An alcoholic head chef who's doing coke in the back in the back room. I think good looks can curse actors and limit their roles. And I think having the face like a smashed crab that Stephen Graham does just allows him to make such interesting choices. He's also leans into heart of a poet because guess what? He wrote the thing. He co-wrote it with a co-writer. Not just an ugly face, Stephen Graham. He can do it all. I think he was great here. I think the kid's really good. I don't know how old that kid is, 14, 15, and holds his own against good pedigree of actors. Performances, can't question it. Out of this park, half the reason the show's good. The way the show ends, just Stephen Graham giving it his all on that bed. If you've seen the show, you know what I mean, and just rips your heart out. Everyone's going to talk about the technical techniques here. Fuck knows how they did this. Each episode was one take, and they've come out and confirmed that. There's no stitching, supposedly. It's not 3 or 4 episodes, and they've cleverly stitched them together a la Birdman. So the fact that they actually pulled this off all in one take is incredible. I don't know if it was necessary. This is where it gets a bit like, is it a gimmick or is it required? Does it enhance the show or distract from the message? Episode 2 is like walking through the school and the camera is on, I don't know, a gimbal or something. And then somehow we go from that to a drone shot. You assume the camera is on like either dolly or a Steadicam or whatever it is. And then we come out and we attach it to a drone and then that drone goes up in the air. How you attach a camera to a drone without having any shake is goddamn fantastic. The things they can do these days. Magic of cinema. The things they can do, Gran. They couldn't do that in your day, could they? No, they couldn't do it in my day, Gran. Obviously, the writing is pretty solid. It's not incredible, but it's good. It's about a very hot topic issue right now, and I think it handles it relatively well. It's always easier to talk about the negatives than it is the positives, Gran. I feel like whenever I'm talking about anything, not just movies, I'm always talking about the positives for a shorter amount of time than I'm talking about the negatives. And I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's me as a person, Gran. Even if someone asked me, how was that gig last night, Tom? I'd go, yeah, it was good. Right, what's coming at the end of that? It's a but. I'm always saying it's good until I'm saying why it's not. And I can't tell you why that is. and maybe it's something I need to work on. Now on to the negatives. I'm going to spend more time talking about the negatives of the program than the positives of the program. That doesn't mean that I didn't like it, and hopefully that is reflected in my overall rating at the end of the show. Like I said, episode 1, great. I think it's great because I didn't know what was going to happen. And I've seen Stephen Graham go on Jimmy Fallon and other talk shows and just say what happens at the very end of this program, because it's the hook, right? It's what this show is about. It's about incel culture. It's about male rage and male violence. So I understand why he has to tell us what happened at the end of that episode to sell the show. But I didn't know that's what happened. And for me, watching that first episode, I didn't know if the kid had done it or not. And I think that's how you should go into it. And I think maybe this show is like so deep in the zeitgeist now that everyone knows what it's about. And it's about the show where this thing happens. I'm not going to say it here. It's a did he, didn't he. It's not a will they, won't they. It's a did he, didn't he. It's not a who done it. It's not a why done it. It's a did he do it. It's a did done it. I think that payoff at the end of the first episode was like, holy shit. That first episode was fucking incredible. For that reason, I was like, damn, I don't think anyone could watch that first episode without knowing the ending and decide to not continue and watch episode 2. I think it's like the biggest cliffhanger that I've ever seen. Good luck not watching episode 2. Try not to watch episode 2 challenge after watching episode 1 Adolescence. I think most would fail. I think so much comes from the suspense in episode 1 of you're in the dad's shoes. You're like, what the fuck's going on here? Did he do it or not? You're in the family's shoes. And I think it is a huge spoiler that they're just parading around on promotions for the show. I think the one take roaming camera technique works so well for a movie like Boiling Point because it's a kitchen and it is stressful and there's always shit happening. There's always something. You've seen Gordon Ramsay's fucking kitchen nightmares. There's always something going on. I've never worked in a kitchen, but that's my closest exposure to it. I think that that's the right environment for a roaming camera. It heightens the stress and the anxiety of the program. There's no cuts. I don't think that this show needed to be, I think it is a bit gimmicky. I don't think this show needed to be one take, especially this first episode. I think episode 3, we'll get on to episode 3 in a second, but I think episode 1 doesn't need to be one long take. Let me tell you why. We have downtime in this show where nothing is happening. When there's a location change and we have to go from a house to, say, a police station, where in a regular show, if we could cut, we would just cut there. We don't need to see the kid in the car for the duration of the drive from the house to the police station. Thank God that police station was only a 2-minute drive away down the road. Lucky for that, otherwise we're watching a 30-minute transit. Another instance of it being completely unnecessary is when they're taking the kid's fingerprints, as they do in a police station, I imagine. Give us your thumb. Give us your index. Give us your middle. Give us your ring. Give us your ring again. Give us your pinky. And your next hand? Boring! Maybe he fell so in love with the idea of it after Boiling Point, or maybe he forgot how to make shows in a regular way. But I don't think it added to the tension of the show. That being said, there's enough going on in that first episode. There's enough mystery as to what's actually happening and who's right and who's lying and who's telling the truth that it gets you through it. Episode 2, bad. How'd that get that rating, Gran? Imagine watching the first episode of The Sopranos and you're introduced to Tony, Carmela, AJ, Meadow, Sil. And then episode 2 of The Sopranos starts and it's about, Jimmy McNulty from The Wire and some other people that you've never met before in a setting that you haven't been in before that you don't care about. And Tony's not there and Sil's not there. Bobby Cannavale's not even there. That's what happens in episode 2 of Adolescence. We meet Stephen Graham in episode 1. We meet the kid in episode 1. I don't really care about the cop. We meet all those people and then in episode 2, we spend all this time with the cop. It's a cop episode. That school episode was like, get me the fuck back to Stephen Graham and the kid. What happened to them? I left them hugging after they just watched the most harrowing video of all time. What's doing? Why am I in a school right now with a cop that I don't care about, watching him and his kid get bullied? I get it. I know why. Don't tell me, we're showing how the schools impact the bullying that actually caused the thing that happened that the whole show's about. I get it. That doesn't mean that it's good or it's interesting. Cutting away from our main characters for the whole second episode is like cardinal sin stuff. And you're asking your audience to go on to take a huge leap of faith with you. And I think it's too big of an ask. I was like, get me the fuck back. And I know when I'm watching the show that it's one take the whole way through. So I'm pretty aware that Stephen Graham's not going to show up at this school while his kid's off in the police station still, or in a padded room somewhere. What is he doing? I don't know. I'd love to know, but instead we're stuck in the school. Don't get so lost in the educational fucking message part of it and trying to, could it be this? Could it be bullying? Could it be negging? Could it be purple emojis and purple hearts versus eggplants and tacos? It doesn't have to be all that. I think they let their message get in the way of good television and writing that keeps people coming back. Thrilling TV is, I suppose, what they opted against there. I think the payoff for episode 2 doesn't go anywhere either. The cop finds something at the end of episode 2. If you've seen the show, you know what I'm talking about. And then that doesn't go anywhere anyway. That kid that he talks to there is never seen again in the show, and it doesn't impact the case whatsoever going forward. So we move on to episode 3 and what I didn't like about that. Not much really. Episode 3 was pretty great. I think it's probably the highlight of the show. I think episode 1 is a brilliant setup, and then we really peak in episode 3. The acting was fantastic. I'd never seen that actress before, but she's incredible. It's the only time that we really see the kid, once we know what he's done. Because in the first one, he's denying everything the whole time. So you're still seeing him as like a sweet kid. Episode 3, you know what he is. He's this kind of, you know what he is. Episode 3 is like the reason the whole show exists. Episode 4 is just the epilogue, the fallout from it. Episode 1 is the prelude and just did it actually happen. Episode 2 is irrelevant and fucking off with the daisies. But episode 3 is like the nuts of the show. That poor woman, if that's her job every day, I really like the way that she explained why she was talking to the kid, how she was talking to the kid. Obviously, the kid's not dumb, so he calls the therapist out on, why are you talking to me like this? Why are you asking me, why are you oiling me up to try and get to some, bigger message? What's your intentions here? I love how she explains to the kid why she's beating around the bush a little bit and that she does have some ulterior motive. She admits to having intentions, to finding out, what's your relationship with masculinity. And she shows him, she says, this question's too small. What do you and your friends do when you hang out? The kid's like, who gives a fuck? This question's too big. I think she asked him, do you love your father, or is your father an angry man? So he shuts down because that's too intense. So then she's like, nah, I'll just exist in the middle here and we'll get to it. This is how we do it. And then the kid's like, yeah, fuck, I can see why you're doing that. That interaction was something I hadn't seen before in a therapy scene. Ep 4 is necessary and / good. We need to see the fallout and the impact that this has on the family as they move on. I think that's interesting and I'm glad we saw it. It's the first time we see Stephen Graham again since episode 1. He's only in the first and the last episode. I think it's great that we come to him on his birthday and we just see the family trying to be happy for a day and trying to hold it together. When you have those kind of days when you're trying to not admit that it's shit yet, and you're like, we can come back from this, we can save this day, because if we just decide to call it a day or stay in, then you admit defeat to it. And it's like, this family is against all odds trying to make this day good. You just had fucking nonce spray paint on your car and you're like, it's okay. No, we'll go to the pictures. It's cool. We'll get some Chinese on the way. We'll go to the pictures. We can still recover from this. I'll just get some paint from the store. It's no big deal. I'll just paint it over. It's easy. It's just nonce, and my kids just fucking won't say what happened. But no, we'll go to the movies. It's absolutely fine. When do we admit defeat, that the day is fucked? Because if we do, it's another birthday gone. It's this massive thing in our life impacting us once again, which just has this stranglehold on us all the time now, I assume. And I imagine you wouldn't want to let it affect every single aspect of your life. You don't want to have it ruin your life and your life as it has your boys. I understand trying to just make some breakfast, just trying to fucking go to the movies. And unfortunately, it all becomes too much and we stay home and we cry on the bed. That's what we do. Sometimes you got to admit defeat. The day got away from you and it ended up being a sad one. And that's okay. We start again tomorrow. I don't think the show's as good as everyone says it is. I think the way it churns through the reasons for these things can be a bit box ticky. We don't have enough time to spend on every single point, but we want to mention it all. But the way they brought up or alluded to an Andrew Tate video in episode 4, I remember Stephen Graham saying, oh, well, we're not bad parents. It's probably just the internet. You saw that video that popped up on my phone when I was just trying to find gym stuff. There was a guy talking about how we should kill women. It felt a bit like, We tick the angry dad box. We tick the bullying box. We tick the internet influence box. We've talked about it all. You know, I don't know if we really actually explore anything deeply or well here, apart from episode 3 going into like the psychology of a young boy who did that, who's in that position. I think that's like incredible. Maybe you know what I mean there, maybe you don't. It just felt a bit bullying, bad, angry dad, bad, Andrew Tate, evil. So, Grant, that's my thoughts on Adolescence. Keen to hear your thoughts on a show one time. Maybe next week you'll get a word in. I'm thinking a 7.1 out of 10. And then Grant said,